10 years of being in love. My boyfriend held a grand wedding for my best friend who is battling cancer, all behind my back. Just because my best friend has cancer, her dying wish is to marry him. Ethan blocked all messages, forbidding anyone from letting this matter reach my ears. He didn't know that my best friend was live streaming the grandeur of the wedding the whole time. That night, I cried until I fainted. Ethan spent the night on the island with his best friend. On the day my heart condition relapsed, he abandoned me to take my best friend to the hospital, nearly costing me my life. I accepted the proposal from the millionaire big shot Lucas. Lana, are you really willing to marry me? After agreeing to get married, Lucas would send me a message every few minutes to confirm. After receiving my affirmative response, he sent me over a dozen styles of diamond rings for me to choose from. These are all rings I bought at the auction. Take a look and see if there's any you like. Seeing that I hadn't replied, a few seconds later, he sent another message. If you haven't found anything you like, there's a jewelry auction in England in a few days. I'll take you to pick something out then. After looking closely, I sent him a voice message. That graph pink diamond looks pretty good. Let's choose it as the wedding ring. Ethan didn't know when to come back, but just as I was behind him, I heard the words wedding ring and suddenly spoke up. Wedding ring? What wedding ring? He looked at me, and on his usually cold and composed face, a rare hint of panic appeared. I met his gaze lightly, just as I was about to come up with an excuse to brush it off. But at that moment, my phone rang. I picked it up and saw that it was a call from my best friend Sophie. After answering the call, her sobbing came through the phone. Lana, is Ethan by your side? I just had another nosebleed. I'm so scared. Before I could say anything, the phone was snatched away by Ethan. He spoke anxiously. Sophie, don't be afraid. I'm on my way right now. Then, Ethan left me behind and ran out. I completely forgot that he asked me to go night cruising on the Pearl River tonight, saying he wanted to make up for the missing 10th anniversary of our love. It turns out that giving up on someone feels like this. Even watching him run towards another woman, my heart can no longer stir with any waves. The phone rang again. This time it was Lucas calling. Lana, are you ready? I'm coming to Hisher to pick you up tomorrow. I gazed into the distance, my eyes deep and contemplative. In a week, once I take care of everything that needs to be done, I will return to the capital to get married. On the other end of the phone, Lucas spoke gently. Okay, I'll wait for you. If you encounter anything you can't solve, remember to tell me. After hanging up the phone, I called Ethan's grandfather to say goodbye. Ethan's grandfather and my grandfather were comrades in arms, with a deep bond between them. When I was 8 years old, I was diagnosed with a serious heart condition. Ethan's family-run private hospital happens to specialize in cardiology, making it quite authoritative. So my grandfather decided to send me to Ethan's house to recover. Over the years, Ethan's parents have treated me as their own, and Ethan's grandfather has taken care of me in every possible way. I am about to return to Beijing, and out of both sentiment and reason, I should bid them farewell. Ethan didn't come home again that night. Sophie sent me a message. Look at you with your mouth full, so cute. In the photo, Ethan is bending down to eat cake, while Sophie extends a finger to smear cream on his face. But soon, she retracted the news. I'm sorry, Lana. I just sent that to the wrong person. Ethan said that photo is really cute and asked me to send it to him. You're not mad, are you? I didn't reply to her. Instead, I silently returned to my room and began packing my bags. The next day at noon, Ethan finally returned home. He prepared a gift for me as an apology. Lana, Sophie was in a serious condition last night. I just took her to the hospital. I didn't say a word. When I opened the brocade box, I found a Rolex women's watch inside. The strap was adorned with a circle of diamonds, extraordinarily luxurious. But I remember, he also gave Sophie a similar gift. It's just that mine is a bit more expensive. Ethan noticed my lack of reaction and asked with some concern, Lana, are you angry? I said softly, no. Sophie is sick. It's only natural for you to go see her. Ethan looked at me suspiciously, perhaps thinking my reaction was strange, but in the end, he just sighed. I'm glad you're not angry. After all, we still have a long way to go together. But Sophie. At this point, Ethan's eyes turned slightly red. I couldn't be bothered to listen to him, in that case. Spend more time with her. After dropping this line, I turned to leave. But Ethan grabbed my wrist. The moment I raised my gaze, there was no emotion in my eyes. What's wrong? Ethan felt somewhat irritable, yet he couldn't pinpoint the source of his agitation. But soon, his phone rang again. He looked down a few times, then raised his head and said to me, "Lana, I have to go on a business trip for the next few days and won't be back for a while. You need to be careful at home." I casually hummed in response, thinking it would be better if he didn't come back, so that tomorrow I could return to Ethan's house to say goodbye to everyone. The next morning, I took the prepared gifts and went to Ethan's house. Ethan's mother turned red-eyed upon hearing that I was returning to Beijing. "Lana, what happened? You were doing so well in Haishur. Why are you suddenly going back?" Ethan's father immediately slammed the table. "Where's Ethan? Why didn't he come back with you? Did he bully you?" I hesitated for a moment, but in the end, I still didn't tell the truth. "No, it's just that I've been away from home for too long these years, and I want to go back and take a look." Ethan's mother looked at me, her expression filled with concern as she spoke. "Does Ethan know about your decision to go back?" To avoid further trouble, I nodded gently. "Yes, he knows." Hearing me say this, no one dared to persuade me further. After some casual conversation, I stood up, preparing to leave. Just at that moment, the door suddenly swung open, and I came face to face with Ethan's face. Standing next to him, Sophie smiled at me and gently said, "Lana, what are you doing here?" She asked with righteous indignation, as if she had already become a daughter-in-law of the Chi family. "I don't seem to need to explain where I am to you." After dropping this line, I walked past Ethan and headed for the door. Ethan, coming back to his senses, immediately chased after me to explain. "Lana, don't misunderstand. I brought Sophie home today so my parents could help her find a suitable doctor. Besides, she's your close friend too. You wouldn't hold it against me, right?" I had a moment of distraction. What echoed in my mind was Ethan's promise to me under the cherry blossom tree when he was 18. He said that marrying me was his lifelong wish. One day, he would take me back to meet his parents as his future daughter-in-law. But now, he brought another woman home and even lied to me, saying he was going on a business trip. Looking at Ethan's expectant eyes, I slowly spoke. "How could that be? I've never been a stingy person. I simply won't care about those who aren't worth it." Hearing me say this, Ethan was taken aback for a moment. "Lana, do you really not care at all? I think he's really too hard to please." In the past, when Ethan was close to Sophie, I got angry, and he said I was petty. Now that I don't inquire about anything between them, he's still not satisfied? But I don't want to explain, and there's nothing to explain. Later, Ethan pecked my forehead and said, "Be good and wait for me at home." After entering the elevator, I reached up to wipe my forehead clean. He made me feel nauseous. On our 10th anniversary, Ethan also used a business trip as an excuse to brush me off. However, that night, I received a video call request from Sophie. After the call connected, I listened to the lively atmosphere of the wedding scene, and only then did I realize that the wedding belonged to Ethan and Sophie. 3 months ago, Sophie was diagnosed with a terminal illness. She posted on Instagram, "I hope to have a wedding with the person I love most before I die." At that time, I had not yet noticed the awkwardness between the two of them, and I even asked her in the comments who her favorite person was. At that time, Sophie replied to me, "You'll know when the time comes." The moment I learned the truth, my heart felt like it was being cut apart, the pain so intense that I could hardly breathe. I called Ethan like a madman, wanting to ask him why he treated me this way. But that night, Ethan didn't answer a single call. I cried myself into a faint at home while he was spending the wedding night with Sophie. Fortunately, everything is about to come to an end. After returning home, I received a call from Sophie. "Lana, I'm really sorry. I had no idea I would run into you today." I scoffed and didn't reply to her. Sophie took a deep breath and said to me with an envious tone, "Ethan's mother is really such a nice person. She is so gentle, asking me how I am and checking on me. They also said they would do their best to help me find a suitable doctor for my treatment." When she said this, she paused for a moment. Then she lowered her voice and asked, "Lana, tell me, why can't the person who marries into the Ethan family be me? Of course it could be her, as long as she has the ability. Then I wish you both 100 years of harmony in advance." Then, I hung up the phone, wanting to block her directly. That way, She wouldn't pop up in front of me from time to show off her presence. At that moment, I accidentally clicked into Sophie's Instagram and discovered that she had actually stolen my design drafts to enter a competition. I was so angry that my hands trembled a little because that drawing was a birthday gift I had given to Ethan. I didn't expect that he would hide it from me and send the draft to Sophie. I stroked my racing heart, trying my best to calm myself down, and then took out my copyright registration certificate to report Sophie's work as plagiarized on the competition website. After all this, my friend Chloe, who co-runs the studio with me, also called. Lana, what happened? Why the sudden withdrawal of funds? Chloe is a mutual friend of Sophie and me. But she had always had a poor relationship with Sophie before. So I told her everything over the phone, including, of course, that I was about to get married. Chloe was furious after hearing this. This Sophie is just too shameless. Relying on her illness to casually steal other people's men? Who knows if she's just pretending? It's driving me crazy. I have to call her and give her a piece of my mind. Hearing Chloe's loyal words, I was quite moved. Forget it, I can't be bothered. The wedding is about to take place. At that moment, footsteps sounded behind me. Ethan's voice suddenly broke in. Wedding? What wedding? I hung up the phone. When I turned to look at Ethan, I noticed he seemed a bit nervous. Suddenly, I had a different thought. I just heard a gossip. There's a guy who, behind his girlfriend's back, held a wedding with another woman. A friend just said that man is despicable, and it's pitiful for his girlfriend, who still thinks she's his one true love. Who would have thought that as soon as these words were spoken, Ethan shouted out in great excitement. What is this all about? How do they know whether that man has his own reasons? What if that wedding is fake, just to fulfill the dying wish of a terminally ill patient? Hearing his grandiose words, I suddenly found it somewhat laughable. 10 years of feelings, all wasted on feeding the dogs. Perhaps sensing that something was off with my emotions, Ethan stepped forward and hugged me. Lana, what's been going on with you lately? He held me tightly in his arms. We've been through so many years together. Don't you know how much I love you? Once we settle Sophie's matters, let's get married, okay? As he spoke, his hands slowly slipped inside my shirt. But I turned my head away, pressing down on his restless hand. Sorry, I don't have any feelings. Ethan's deep-set eyes gazed at me for a long time, yet he couldn't discern anything from me. In the end, he reluctantly let go of me and dropped a line. I'm going to sleep in the study. That night, I had just fallen asleep when I heard Ethan hurriedly leaving the house. I turned over and continued to sleep. But the next morning, as soon as I opened the door, I saw Ethan sitting in the living room. I raised my eyebrows slightly. So early? Ethan didn't give me a good look. Instead, he confronted me head-on. Why do you have to report Sophie for plagiarism? Do you have any idea how much of an impact this will have on her? I smiled, my expression frozen on my face. May I ask, was that design draft done by Sophie herself? Did she not plagiarize? Ethan was shocked to hear this. Lana, how did you become like this? Where did the kind you go? You have everything, countless awards for your work. What difference would it make to let her have a chance? Sophie is now so angry that her condition has worsened, lying in the hospital on the brink of death. She just wanted to experience the feeling of winning an award before her life ends. Is that too much to ask? I was so angry that my fingers felt a bit numb. I immediately retorted, of course not. Ethan, you know how much I've sacrificed over the years to achieve my dreams. To practice my painting, my hands were covered in frostbite during the harsh winter, itching and hurting. How can you casually say that I should give my work to Sophie? If she wants to experience the feeling of winning an award, she should work a little harder for it. What does it mean to take what I've earned? A man can be without, but if anyone dares to touch my design work, I will never let her go. Ethan did not notice the changes in my body. He dropped a line, "You've changed," and then walked outside. And I, infuriated, had a heart attack, suddenly collapsing to the ground, pleading in agony, "Ethan, save me." But he never looked back even once. After waking up, I found myself lying in the hospital. Lucas held me tightly in his arms. Lana, we're going back to Beijing. This time, I slowly closed my eyes and said, okay. It turns out that a person can truly burn all their hopes to ashes in a single moment. Ethan only discovered my sudden departure on the third day. He called me frantically, and I found it annoying, so I just blocked him. Why do you care so much about Sophie, yet still keep me hanging? I curled up in the Italian handcrafted sofa, watching Lucas have a high-end custom wedding dress delivered, feeling dazzled. He gently wrapped his arm around my shoulder and asked softly, "Which style do you like?" I carefully selected and finally settled on a strapless mermaid tulle dress. "This one will do. I think it looks quite nice." Lucas affectionately ruffled my hair and said, "All right, then let's go with this one." After choosing the wedding dress, he went to discuss the specific details of the wedding day with the wedding planning company. In the past few days, Chloe told me that Ethan went completely mad after he found out I was missing. He inquired everywhere about my whereabouts, but learned of my return to the capital from his own parents. "Lana, what do you think his reaction would be if he found out about your marriage?" I didn't have time to think much when I heard someone ringing the doorbell outside. I thought it was just the wedding staff Lucas had sent over again. I stepped forward to open the door, only to be met by Ethan's crimson eyes. The moment he saw me, his eyes were filled with disbelief. "Lana, you're really here." Ethan spoke with a slight choke in his voice. "Why did you leave without saying a word? You must have done it on purpose to upset me, right? Come back with me, and we'll get married right away." Seeing Ethan pulling me, Lucas rushed over. "Ethan, please stay away from my wife." Ethan stumbled slightly, his voice trembling. "What did you just say?" Lucas stood tall in front of me, blocking Ethan's burning gaze. Ethan, however, did not believe it. "Lana, stop joking. After 10 years of our relationship, how could you just say it's over? Were all the promises we made over the years just lies? I really don't want to get entangled with him any longer, so I immediately threw out my marriage certificate with Lucas for him to see." "Ethan, I'm not lying to you. I really got married." He was somewhat taken aback, his shoulders drooping in deep hurt. Why? Seeing Ethan about to rush forward, Lucas stepped up directly to block him. Immediately, with a cold face, he scolded. "How can you still ask Lana why? Don't you have any idea what you've been doing these days?" Saying this, Lucas pulled out a pile of photos from somewhere and threw them on the ground. "You keep saying you love Lana, yet you secretly marry another woman. Is this what you call love?" In the photo, Sophie smiles with pure happiness, while Ethan looks like a knight protecting his princess. Such a warm and harmonious scene pierced my eyes. Ethan explained in a panic. "Lana, it's not what you think. Sophie and I are in a fake marriage, just like playing house. I'm just fulfilling a wish of hers before she passes." A tear slipped from the corner of my eye. Lucas quickly reached out and gently wiped it away from me. I stepped forward and looked at Ethan calmly. "The wedding with her is fake, so what about all your affection for her? Is that also fake?" Ethan wearily closed his eyes. "Sophie is also your good friend. I was just putting on a show for her. I thought you wouldn't mind." I find it utterly sarcastic. "Ethan, do you really believe what you just said? That day, you rushed out without hesitation. Did you ever think that I might get so angry I could have a heart attack and almost die at home?" Ethan's body trembled, and he suddenly looked up. "Lana, what did you say?" I'm tired and don't want to say much to him. "Ethan, we're done." Ethan's face was terrifyingly dark. His gaze fell on me, shifting from guilt to resentment, in just 3 seconds. Immediately, he let out a cold laugh and spoke slowly. "It doesn't matter. Even if you are married, it doesn't matter. Even if I have to tie you up, I will take you to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce from him." After saying that, he pulled out a blank check from his pocket and tossed it on to Lucas. "Pretty boy. Have you heard of the chief family in Heisher? Fill in the amount on the check yourself and divorce my wife. Otherwise, you'll find out what happens when you cross me." I was so angered by Ethan's rude behavior that I wanted to confront him, but Lucas stopped me. Lucas didn't care. Instead, he smiled faintly. "Ethan, is this how you win back your lover? It's really not impressive." This struck Ethan like a dagger, and he erupted in anger. "What the hell do you care? Do you have any idea that Lana and I have been childhood sweethearts? We've shared a whole decade together. Do you really think you stand a chance of stealing her from me? As long as I take her back and spend every day with her, she will definitely come back to me." Suddenly, Ethan raised his fist towards Lucas. I exclaimed, "Ethan, you're crazy." But before that fist could land, it was blocked by Lucas with one hand. "Tie Lana back up? Lucas's cold face was tinged with anger. What do you take her for? Is she just something you can summon and dismiss at will? Ethan has been working out for years, and his body is covered in muscle. But now, he was subdued by Lucas. Like a little chick, with no power to resist. Immediately, Lucas let out a cold laugh, and the bodyguards in the room responded at once. He directly took the rope and tied Ethan up tightly. Ethan's veins bulged with anger. Bastard, do you know who I am? How dare you treat me like this? After adjusting his cuffs, Lucas spoke slowly. You are from the High City Chief family? Why don't you go back and ask the old master of the Chief family if he has ever heard of the Liu family in the capital? Dropping this line, he raised his hand, and Ethan was carried out by a group of bodyguards. Completely ignoring Ethan's increasingly shocked expression, the Haishi Chijia lives in medical real estate. The Liu family's enterprises in Qijing City are spread across the country, their wealth far surpassing that of the Qi family. After doing all this, Lucas turned to me and explained, Lana, don't get me wrong, I don't usually act like this. Looking at his serious yet slightly nervous expression, I smiled gently. I think your approach is quite good. Otherwise, with Ethan's character, he would never give up easily. I am already tired of this endless entanglement. That evening, Lucas organized a dinner for our two families' elders to finalize the details of the wedding. This is also the first time I met Lucas's mother. During the waiting process, I felt a bit nervous, my palms sweating. Lucas held my hand tightly under the table and whispered reassuringly, Lana, don't be afraid. My parents really like you. After both sets of parents arrived, the atmosphere was relatively harmonious. When Lucas's mother saw me for the first time, she couldn't stop smiling and even took out a brocade box to hand to me. Lana, I've always heard Lucas talk about you, and today, I finally get to meet the real you. You're even more beautiful than I imagined. Hearing this, I was taken aback for a moment. I met Lucas at an art exhibition. At that time, he was the exhibitor, and I was the curator. We hit it off immediately, chatting happily, and it was only 2 months from our first meeting to deciding to get married. Will he often mention me in front of his family? Seeing me in a daze, Lucas reminded me, open the brocade box and take a look. I guess it might be a gift for meeting. Either a watch or a bag. When the brocade box was opened, my mother, sitting next to me, gasped. Isn't it the ancestral jade bracelet of the Lucas family? In the brocade box, there lies a king's green ice jade bracelet. Previously, a financial journalist interviewed the Lucas family and mentioned this ancestral jade bracelet, which is said to be worth 9 figures. I was taken aback and hurriedly handed the brocade box back. This is too precious. Lucas's mother picked up the jade bracelet and directly helped me put it on my wrist. A gift for my future daughter-in-law. No matter the cost, it's not too precious. After saying that, she gently placed her hand on the back of mine, because you deserve it. That day, when I followed my parents home, I unexpectedly saw Ethan's father and mother at our house. My mom sighed. At that time, your grandfather insisted on sending you to Hisher, and the Ethan family repeatedly promised to take good care of you. We all thought that you and Ethan would be together in the end. We don't know what happened between you and Ethan, but you have received favors from Ethan's family over the years, so it wouldn't be right to turn him away. I also found it reasonable after hearing that, so I said to my mom, Mom, don't worry, I will handle this matter well. I personally brought 2 cups of tea into the study. When Ethan's mother saw me for the first time, her eyes turned red. Lana, I heard you returned to the capital to get married. I sighed. Uncle, Aunt, I won't hide it from you any longer. Ethan and I are done. Uncle Chief furrowed his brows in anger. Has this little brat done something to wrong you? Just watch me beat him to death. I remained silent, but Ethan's mother sensed something was off. Is it because of that, Sophie? I didn't say a word, but my attitude spoke volumes. Ethan's mother, her face full of shame, said, Lana, we have treated you like our own daughter. I can't even face you after that brat Ethan did such a thing. In the years away from home, Ethan's mother has given me a lot of care, so I certainly won't become estranged from her because of Ethan. Aunt, no matter what, you are the people I respect the most. In fact, I can guess that they came to my house to try to win me back. But after understanding the ins and outs of the situation, the words to keep him from leaving still did not come out. After they left, Chloe sent me several messages in a row. Lana, you have to see the screenshot I sent you. That Sophie is really crazy. After she heard that you were getting married, she actually posted a lot of derogatory comments about you on Instagram. It's simply infuriating. I opened a screenshot and the strong aroma of tea rushed to my nose. Some people act as innocent as a little white flower, but who knows, they haven't even broken up with their boyfriend and are already eager to get a marriage certificate with another man. Don't be so cheap, okay? The accompanying image is an old profile photo of me. Moreover, she also replied in the comments. You don't know, her husband is old and ugly. She only cares about his money, Chloe said to me. This Sophie is such a bitch I couldn't take it anymore, and after arguing with her, I just blocked her. I am immersed in the joy of my upcoming wedding and have no desire to let someone like this affect my mood. So I comforted Chloe. Don't be angry. In 3 days I will be getting married, and I am waiting for you in the capital to be my bridesmaid. In the past few days, Lucas has taken me around to shop and have fun, calling it a way to cultivate our feelings. Despite the conscious effort to distance myself from certain people and events from the past, the gossip about Sophie reached my ears through various mutual friends. After returning to Hisher, Ethan's father and mother did the first thing they could. They went to the hospital to request Sophie's medical records. As a result, it doesn't matter if you don't look, but once you do, it takes you by surprise. Ethan's father keenly noticed that Sophie's various test indicators were abnormal, showing signs of intervention. So they began to investigate step by step. In the end, it turned out that Sophie didn't have any terminal illness at all. Her health was quite good. Before, fainting and feeling unwell was just a way to feign pity and attract Ethan's attention. After Ethan's mother learned of this, she had the security throw her and her belongings out of the hospital. Sophie cried out in fear, desperately clutching the hospital doorframe and refusing to leave. Aunt, please don't kick me out, don't send me away. If Ethan finds out, he will definitely argue with you. Ethan's mother was furious, raising her hand and slapping her. How dare you mention Ethan? Get out of here right now. Keeping you in the hospital is a waste of medical resources. After being kicked out, Sophie squatted in the hospital, crying and calling Ethan. 5 minutes later, Ethan arrived at the hospital. At first, Sophie thought the other person had come to back her up and was considering telling him about her grievances. Who knows? Ethan's face darkened as he directly reached out and tugged her hair back. What did you just say? You're not sick. You've been pretending to be ill to deceive me? Sophie was so scared that she didn't dare to cry out loud. She could only move her lips, pleading desperately. Ethan, I do this all because I love you so much. And don't you like me a lot too? You said Lana is too outstanding, and when you're with her, you feel pressured. It's different when you're with me. You can be more relaxed and happier. But before she could finish her sentence, Ethan threw her onto the floor. Who do you think you are? You want to compare yourself to Lana? 10 of you wouldn't even measure up to one of her fingers. But when Sophie heard these words, a sorrowful smile appeared on her face. Ethan, why won't you admit that you've already fallen in love with me? If you don't like me, why do you pay so much attention to me, taking care of me from time to time, and even standing up for me against those who bully me? Ethan looked at her with a blank expression and cruelly spoke the truth. I take care of you because Lana told me that you are her good friend. I'm helping you just to put Lana's mind at ease. If it weren't for the fact that you're Lana's best friend, do you think I would even spare you a glance? Hearing this, Sophie shook her head in disbelief. She screamed hysterically on the street. After Sophie vented, she spoke to Ethan in a tone that was almost boastful. At this point, what good does it do to say how much you love her? On the day you held the wedding with me, I had already live-streamed the entire ceremony to Shin Lana via video call. Can you guess how many calls she made to you that day? What do you think she felt when she heard the sounds of our wedding night? I lost my Ethan and became a complete madman. After he pulled Sophie into the car, he accelerated to the maximum speed, aiming to crash into the riverbank. Without Lana, let's die together. The car crashed wildly, making Sophie scream in terror. When Ethan's supercar was stopped by the traffic police, Sophie was so scared that she fainted, her body going limp. It was the 3rd day after this incident, the day before the wedding, when I received a call from Ethan. After a few days of not seeing him, his voice was hoarse to the point of being unrecognizable. When I heard the name Lana again, it felt as if I were in a different world. Lana, on your wedding day, can I attend? If you can't marry me, I want to see with my own eyes what you look like when you get married. Before the words of refusal could leave my lips, someone snatched the phone away. I don't know when Lucas appeared behind me to answer. Of course, you're welcome. I'll have to personally toast you then. Ethan gritted his teeth on the other end of the phone. Give the phone back to Lana. I want to talk to him. What does it have to do with you? Lucas raised an eyebrow slightly. We are one as a couple. What I say and what she says are the same. Ethan hung up the phone in anger. Then, Lucas handed the phone back to me. He reined in the hostility that surrounded him, his brows and eyes softening as he looked down at me. Lana, you weren't angry just now, were you? I chuckled lightly in response. Of course not. You handled it well, saving me a lot of trouble. He let out a breath of relief. A bit nervously, that's good. I was afraid you might be upset. But actually, I am a bit worried. Because I know Ethan, he has never been someone who gives up easily. Lucas, do we really have to invite Ethan to our wedding? I'm worried he might cause a scene at the ceremony. He didn't care at all. Lana, don't worry. With me here, he won't be able to cause any trouble. Lucas was never someone who could be easily bullied. I have seen him handle work with a decisive and vigorous demeanor. But now, he is willing to treat me with such patience and care. I stepped forward and gently embraced him. Lucas's body stiffened slightly. Lucas, thank you. This sentence contains too many emotions. Thank you for supporting and accepting me like this. Also, thank you for giving me immense dignity when I was deeply wounded by emotions. Lucas's large hand gently rested on my head. Between you and me, there's no need for thanks. On the day of the wedding, the guests filled the seats. I was in the hotel dressing room, incredibly nervous. During this time, Lucas came in several times, bringing me a lot of milk, tea and food. Chloe couldn't help but feel envious. She joked. Oh, the groom is trying to fatten up our bride. Lucas looked at me with a doting expression. Today will be tough. Eat a little more. At the wedding venue, everywhere was adorned with dazzling flame orchids, shining brilliantly. I wore a high-fashion sheer gown and slowly made my entrance to the beautiful music. Now there is a burst of cheers. My parents send me off to marriage with tears in their eyes. It takes only a minute to walk from the entrance to the center of the venue. But I walked from the wrong relationship to the right lover, taking a full 10 years. 10 years felt like a lifetime apart. With deep affection in his eyes, Lucas slowly stepped forward and knelt on one knee. Lana, will you marry me? When that enormous diamond ring appeared before my eyes, a wave of emotion surged in my heart. I covered my lips and slowly nodded. Immediately after, they exchanged rings and embraced each other in a kiss, all in one breath. Lucas spent a fortune to secure the billboard in the very center of the city. He wanted to loop the video of our wedding ceremony on it. He said that he wanted everyone to see my happiness and to wish me happiness. But Ethan, who said he would come to the wedding, did not appear. It was only after the guests had all left that I saw Ethan cornered and restrained by 2 bodyguards. His hands and feet were bound, and even his mouth was stuffed with rags. Nature cannot make any noise. Lucas stepped forward and pulled the cloth strip from his mouth. Ethan's eyes turned red with anger. Is this your way of hosting guests? Lucas maintained his expression, politely speaking. I apologize for the lack of greeting, Mr. Ethan. Please do not take offense. Ethan looked at me with a face full of reluctance. He spoke almost pleadingly. Lana. I simply nodded at him lightly. Thank you, Mr. Ethan, for gracing our wedding with your presence. Please be sure to send us an invitation when you get married. We will definitely attend together. Upon hearing the words the couple, Lucas raised an eyebrow slightly, a hint of an unintentional smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. In the end, Ethan was defeated. He looked at Lucas's face. You did this on purpose. You want me to see Lana marry you with my own eyes. You want me to be completely heartbroken. You're just a scheming bastard. Lucas did not deny it, and even shamelessly replied. Thank you for the compliment. Ethan had probably never encountered someone like this before, so infuriated that he had lost his temper. Finally, he collapsed on the ground in despair. Lana, do you know that I have prepared so many things? I swear, I will win you back at this wedding. But as I watch you walk towards him, your face full of shyness, my throat feels like it has swallowed countless blades, making it hard for me to breathe. I listened, showing no expression. Oh, normal. I felt the same way when I knew you were having a wedding with Sophie. The light in Ethan's eyes completely faded away. Lucas's scheme succeeded. I know that from this point on, Ethan and I will truly have nothing to do with each other. On the night of our wedding, I sat nervously on the bed. In the bathroom, the water flows with a splashing sound, slowly reaching my eardrum. Before long, Lucas stepped out, bringing with him the damp mist, and his ex was at waist and abdomen. I instinctively swallowed. Lucas stepped forward, leaned down, and softly asked in my ear, "Do you like it?" That night, I experienced ultimate joy. The next day when I woke up, my whole body ached, and I had shouted so much that my voice was hoarse. But I need to quickly get myself in order. Because tonight I will be going with Lucas to his friend's banquet. I chose a champagne-colored strapless dress, and when I appeared in front of everyone on Lucas's arm, it caused quite a stir. After Lucas settled me in, he got up to greet his friends. The man closest to Lucas is the second son of the Sadu family, who started with antiques. As soon as he saw me, he came over to tease. "So you are the Miss Lana that our young master Lucas has been thinking about day and night." I greeted him with a smile. "Young Master Sadu, I've long admired your name." Sadu raised his wine glass and chuckled lightly. "You have no idea. Ever since he saw you once when he was a child, he would occasionally bring you up in front of us guys. Later, when you became a painter, he quietly supported you with a huge sum to hold your art exhibition, and then he bought all your paintings. One could say he was utterly infatuated. Not just that. Young Master Lucas even opened a branch office in Hisher just for you." Hearing them say this, the doubts I had before seemed to be explained. Why was Lucas able to rush over and take me for treatment right after I had a heart attack at home? It turns out that my fate with him was already established in childhood. Lucas came back and asked me, "What are you thinking about? You look so focused." I turned my head and smiled at him. "I was just thinking, how did I get to know you when we were kids? I don't have any memory of it at all." Lucas gently wrapped his arm around my waist. Mysteriously, he said, "Many, many years ago, there was a crybaby who always ran alone to cry under the cherry blossom tree. I was practicing the piano upstairs at that time, and I got annoyed by the noise, so I thought I would go downstairs to see who could cry for so long. I didn't expect to run into you." As soon as he said that, I instantly remembered. "You're the big brother who comforted me?" I used to be isolated by my friends due to my health issues, so I would go cry under a cherry blossom tree. I didn't expect to meet such a kind, big brother. He will listen to me talk about my worries, and I will bring him delicious pastries and fresh flowers. We once had a wonderful time. Oh my, after so many years, Lucas has grown to be so stunningly attractive. After seeing the surprised expression on my face, Lucas gently ruffled my hair. "I watched you at the beginning, not getting used to the sea city, but gradually becoming happy, even ending up with Ethan. At that time, I was extremely upset, yet I thought, as long as you were happy, everything would be fine. But later I realized that you were not happy by his side. Still, I wanted you to be happy, so I silently supported your career and helped you overcome all obstacles." Speaking of which, Lucas let out a bitter laugh. But human desires are infinitely magnified, and in the end, seeing Ethan not cherish you like he should, I want to keep you by my side. Let me love you properly. My heart trembles slightly. After Ethan returned to the city, he fell into a state of despair day and night, hardly caring about business matters. Old Master Ethan, furious, picked up his cane and struck him several times, resulting in him being sent straight to the hospital. Sophie had been missing for a while. No one knew her whereabouts. Chloe said that someone had seen her picking up scrap in the southern part of the city, and she was completely disoriented, acting crazily. Later, one night, Chloe called me and said, "Lana, do you know? A few days ago, I ran into Sophie." When I heard that name again, I felt little emotion. That was someone who had long been far removed from my life. Zay, she really is in a terrible state now. Sophie can't even recognize anyone, and she's still mumbling about wanting to marry a rich second-generation heir and become a wealthy lady. Some homeless man on the street noticed that she was quite attractive and began to have improper thoughts. As a result, after a few encounters, she became even more deranged, and now she is even over 3 months pregnant. I have no sympathy for this. We are all adults now. The path we choose to take is entirely up to us. Once, I also gave my all to help her, but what I received in return was betrayal. After hanging up the phone, Lucas brought me a late-night snack. Wife, don't tire yourself out. Come have some coconut sago. Take a break. I looked up and saw Lucas's handsome face. A wave of satisfaction washed over me. Outside the window, countless lights are shining. Inside the room, my beloved is by my side.